Hey guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. My name's Amanda, and today I want to share with you my top five favorite books from spring. So every season I do a seasonal TBR, and then at the end of that season I try to do a follow-up video of my top 5 favorite books that I read that season. Typically they're not books off of my TBR because I don't always stick to my TBR, but it's a process, right? So anyway, I want to share with you today my top 5 reads of spring, and these are the books that I enjoyed the most from March, April, and May. So these are not in any particular order. I am also not including my reread of Harry Potter in this. I've been rereading through the Harry Potter series, and so I'm not including any Harry Potter books in this video. These are anything other than that, and this was actually a really easy decision to make. I went through all the books that I read during March, April, and May, and just kind of as I'm looking through them, I'm like, okay, yeah, that one, okay, yeah, that one, okay, yeah, and I got to the end and there were 5. So that was pretty easy. 3 of these are middle grade and 2 of them are adults. I are adults. They're not adults. They are adult novels, which is not surprising, especially considering March was middle grade March, and so I read a ton of middle grade that month. Also, I listened to 3 of these via audiobook, and I physically read 2 of them, so I'm happy with that. I mean, I think that that's a good representation of what I read. So without further ado, let's get into the list. So the first book on this list is The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Sunrise by Dan Gemeinhart. And this is one that I read during middle grade March. It was probably my favorite book that I read during middle grade March. And this is a book all about Coyote, who is a girl who lives on a school bus with her dad, and they just travel all over. No place is home. They just roam and kind of pick up and go whenever they want. And you find out why throughout the book, but within the story, Coyote wants to get home, which is in Washington or Oregon, I believe. I think it's Washington, for a specific reason. And so she's trying to convince her dad to go back home without telling her dad where they're going. So she's plotting ways to get him closer to home without him knowing. And along the way, they pick up a few friends, and it is a beautiful, 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 heartbreaking, lovely story that I absolutely loved. So that definitely made this list. Another one from middle grade March that I thoroughly loved is My Jasper June. This is by Laurel Snyder, and this is another one that deals with grief and just life. Anyway, and it is about, I don't remember what the main character's name is. This is my curse. Anyway, this little girl who basically all of her summer plans got canceled. She normally goes to camp every summer, but this summer she's not going, and you find out why in the story. But basically everybody else's summers are going on without her, and she has nothing to do all summer. And so she's kind of walking along through town one day, and she finds this new girl that she's never seen before, and it's just about their friendship, and it is amazing. I love this story so much. And yeah, I'm excited to read more by Laurel Snyder and Dan Gemeinhart both. But yeah, definitely check that one out if you haven't already. All right, the next one on this list is my last middle grade, and I read this one in April. And this is a nonfiction middle grade that I have raved about, and that is Free Lunch by Rex Ogle. This book blew me away. This is one that I picked up. It was a cover buy at the library. I don't know, cover borrow? I don't know what you call that. But anyway, I was just kind of looking through the middle grade or kids nonfiction section, looking for a book to read during middle grade March, I think, but I didn't read it in March. We're not going to get into that right now. And I picked up this book. The spine looked fun, whatever. I ended up reading it. It was so good, so impactful, and it is about Rex when he was a boy. It's a memoir of his, and it's about poverty and living in poverty and a child's view of that and how he felt towards his mom about that and towards kids at school and the system and all that. And it was absolutely amazing. I would say be cautious giving this to kids to read because there is child abuse and things like that in this. But you know, I would read it first before you would give it to a child to read. But it, for me, was super, super impactful. And I think it's a very important book to be out there for the kids that are in these situations that need a book like this to read. So love, love, love that one. All right, moving on to my adult books. The first of which is Beach Read by Emily Henry. This is one I listened to on audiobook in May, and I love this book. It is a contemporary romance book. I don't really read a whole lot of romance, but I thought this one was brilliant. This one has gotten a lot of hype, and so I don't want to hype it up more than it already is, but I just loved it so much. But this follows our main character, January, and she is going to this lake house for the summer, and when she gets there, she realizes that her next door neighbor is her college rival. They were both in a writing program at school, and they were rivals all through school, and he's next door. He's staying in the lake house that is next door to hers, whatever. Anyway, and so they start going at each other again, and we find out that both of them are suffering from writer's block. Now, after college, she became a women's fiction, women's lit, chick lit, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, writer. Always wrote the happily ever afters, and he became a literary fiction author who always wrote like super depressing stuff. And so we kind of get to find out why they're writing what they're writing. They're both suffering from writer's block, and they kind of end up making this bet that she's going to write literary fiction and he's going to write a women's fiction book, and whoever sells their book first wins the bet, and there's, you know, strings attached and all that. But they start getting to know each other and their writing processes, and it was, I loved it so much. And they both have baggage, obviously. What's a romance book without baggage? But anyway, go read this one if you haven't already. Like I said, I don't read a lot of romance, so if you're a super big romance reader, you may have a different opinion than I do. But for me, this one hit the spot. And then my last favorite for this season is As Bright as Heaven by Susan Meisner. This is one that I buddy read with Krista from Books and Jams and Katie at Life Between Words early in May, and we read this because it deals with the Spanish flu in 1918, and we thought that it would be a good one to read during coronavirus. And we were right. It was absolutely really hit home. A lot of the things were very impactful because of the time we were reading it in, but also it's just a really good book. It is broken up into two parts, and I will say I liked the first part a lot better than the second part, but they were both good. We follow in this book the Bright family, and they are undertakers in Philadelphia during the Spanish flu. And so it is about how that affects them and their business. And it's set obviously during World War I. That comes into play as well. There's the three sisters and the mom and the dad. And yeah, so you get the perspective of the mom and the three sisters throughout the book. Absolutely love this one. This was the first Susan Meisner I've ever read, and I'm very excited to read more from her now, but this was really good. I did post a standalone review of this, so if you're interested in that, I will link that down below as well, but this definitely made it on the list of a favorite for this season. So those were my top 5 favorite books that I read during the months of March, April, and May. If you've read any of these, I would love, love, love to hear your opinions of them down below. Also, what was your favorite book that you read during the past 3 months? I'd love to hear that. And yeah, other than that, I hope that you enjoyed this. And I hope that you stick around and subscribe. And until next time, see ya!